By now, you've probably heard the news. Scott Bessent, the current U.S. Treasury Secretary and the man many believed would spearhead a national Bitcoin reserve, went on TV and flat out said the government would not be buying Bitcoin. Now, that's a gut punch for the community, especially after months of the administration hyping up the idea of nation state accumulation to Bitcoiners before and after the election. His comments even hinted that they may have sold some Bitcoin along the way. But in just the last few hours, a bombshell update has dropped, and it might turn the entire story on its head. So, what was said? What indicators do we have that the government may have sold some Bitcoin? And what development in the last couple hours changes the whole story? Let's get to the bottom of what the hell has been going on today, because it's a bit of a roller coaster. We had one bit of information that seemed pretty compelling, and then we had a bit of a whipsaw here. So first, let's kind of chat about how things have transpired over time here. So, why in the first place is everybody hyped up? So, those of you that are new to the channel, that are just kind of tuning in for the first time, what is kind of the overarching theme here? And it's that, Trump ran on a platform of Bitcoin. This is going to be the Bitcoin capital of the world, and there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And so, here's a clip of Trump, and he's talking about in recent years the U.S. government selling Bitcoin, that you never sell your Bitcoin. So let's just take a listen.
Unfortunately, in recent years, the U.S. government has foolishly sold tens of thousands of additional Bitcoin that were worth billions and billions of dollars had they not sold them, but they did sell them, mostly during the Biden administration. Not a good thing to have done. From this day on, America will follow the rule that every Bitcoin knows very well: never sell your Bitcoin. That's a little phrase that they have. I don't know if that's right or not. Who the hell knows, right?
So again, interesting that he says mostly under the Biden administration, mostly. So who knows there? But let's kind of continue on, what they were saying, before and post election. Again, he signed an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Executive order directed the secretaries of Treasury and Commerce to develop budget neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin that have no incremental costs on taxpayers. Okay, fair enough. And this is from the article here on Globe and Mail, and there's the quote again: budget neutral strategies that have no incremental costs on taxpayers. What else was promised? Well, we had Trump's digital assets chief, Bo Hines, again confirming White House plans for Bitcoin strategic reserve. Asked about the scale of the reserve and how much Bitcoin the government currently holds, he did not provide any specifics, and we may find out why in a moment. I can't discuss that right now. There are several reasons we're not disclosing that right now. There might be a time when we do, but I will say we want as much as we can possibly get, and we're going to continue to work on that. So again, hinting hey, we're figuring this out. We're gonna be accumulating Bitcoin aggressively, it would seem. And it's not just the reserve stuff. There's been other moves that are seemingly quite positive. Again, Trump signing an executive order to allow Bitcoin into 401ks. We also had him nominating pro-Bitcoin advocate Stephen Moran to the Federal Reserve Board. He says Bitcoin should have a meaningful role in the U.S. monetary policy. Now, with that in mind, 5 days ago, interesting development. White House crypto advisor Bo Hines, the same guy who's we want as much as we can get, he left. He's gone. He stepped down, is no longer... He's pursuing things in the private sector. Well, that's very interesting. And then as of this morning, we have Scott Bessent on Fox Business, and let's take a listen to what he said this morning. This morning.
We've got the large gold holding. I doubt we're going to revalue it, but we are going to keep it there, again, as a store of value for the American people. We've also started to get into the 21st century, a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're not going to be buying that, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. We're going to stop selling that. I believe that Bitcoin reserve at today's prices is somewhere between 15 and 20 billion.
There's a lot there. So again, to reiterate, we've got to, at first, he said, I doubt we're going to revalue gold. He also then said, we've got a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We're not going to be buying it. We're not going to be buying Bitcoin. But he said that we're going to, basically he said, like, we won't buy it, but if we steal some from people, we'll put it in there. So that's neat. And then beyond that, he said, and we're going to stop selling it. Might that indicate that there was some selling taking place? And then furthermore, the last thing was the valuation on the Bitcoin that they currently hold, which he said between 15 and 20 billion dollars. Now, Larry Lepard summed it up quite nicely here. He said, okay, so who sold 50,000 coins? At one point, the claim was that the U.S. controlled 210,000 Bitcoin. And when you math that out with what Besant just said at 15 to 20 billion, the math ain't mathin'. When you look at even as recent as December 15th of last year, it would appear that under a filing, they held just over 198,000 Bitcoin, with the price lower than it was at the time when he made this announcement. That was still over 23 and a third billion dollars. So again, why is there now less than that? And of course, when Besant spoke, you can see, I think I can see exactly when he said that. It looks like it was right about there. So we saw the price go from the euphoria of some new all-time highs last night. Last night it got to like 124 and a bit. And now we're flitting around 117, closer to $118,000. So the market did not like that. However, this is there's been a major change in the past couple of hours. Let me break this down for my fellow Bitcoiners. In just 8 weeks, I've seen a serious shift, more strength, more energy, and fast muscle gains. The reason? FITSCRIPT. They ran 124 biomarkers, blood, hormones, inflammation, and built a fully custom plan, nutrition, training, supplements. No guesswork, no templates. This is functional medicine meets precision fitness for high-performing men who want sovereignty over their health. If you care about optimization the way you care about your money, test, don't guess. Don't trust, verify. Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to check out FITSCRIPT and see what's possible. And we can only speculate as to why, but he did say we're not going to be buying Bitcoin. And he basically outlined, like, if we confiscate it, we'll keep it. But not much else other than that. And then the ire of Bitcoiners online was clearly felt because the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, then came out and shared this tweet. Hey, you. Yes, you watching the Bitcoin price movements and the latest exciting news. It's awesome to stay informed, but the real power of Bitcoin comes from taking control. Don't just watch, take action. Head over to btcsessions.ca/learn for free step-by-step tutorials that guide you through every major skill you need to know, plus full video playlists for deeper dives on any topic you like. And if you're ready for the ultimate fast track, scroll to the bottom and check out bitcoinmentor.io for premium one-on-one experience with my team of Bitcoin experts to ensure you get it right the first time. Don't wait. Secure your Bitcoin future today. Hit the link in the show notes or scan the QR code on the screen. around 1:45 this afternoon, my time. So a couple hours forward from there. Bitcoin that has been finally forfeited to the federal government will be the foundation of the strategic Bitcoin reserve that President Trump established in his March executive order. In addition, the Treasury is committed to exploring budget neutral pathways to acquire more Bitcoin to expand the reserve and to execute on the president's promise to make the United States the Bitcoin superpower of the world. So it would seem that compared to what he was saying this morning, he's kind of done an about face and gone back to the pre-existing narrative that, hey, we're still pursuing ways to accumulate more Bitcoin outside of the way that he spoke of, which was just stealing it from people. You also have Senator Cynthia Lummis chiming in here. Secretary Scott Bessent is right. A budget neutral path to building the SBR is the way. We cannot save our country from $37 trillion in debt by purchasing more Bitcoin, but we can revalue gold. So the opposite of what he said we're not going to revalue it. She said we can revalue gold reserves to today's prices and transfer the increase in value to build the SBR. America needs the Bitcoin Act. Now, what I'll say is they don't have that fucking gold. There's no way. There's no way. There's a reason why they're not keen on that. It's not there. I don't know. What do you think, Nathan?
Well, it's funny that we never got that audit, did we? We never got that audit of Fort Knox. I'm curious how much is there. It's weird to me that this idea keeps getting floated around. Like, it feels like they're trying to meme it into existence. Like, I think the first time I ever heard the idea of revaluing the gold came from Luke Groman. I'm not sure if it was one of his kind of brainchilds or it was something that's been considered for a long time, but I feel like that one is getting normalized in the media and they're gonna make some moves on that at some point. I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. In terms of the response, like what a nice sort of indication of where Bitcoiners are in terms of political influence. It was wonderfully outlined, I think, with the election of Trump, because he did get a lot of support from the libertarian base, especially on free Ross aspect. But even now, right, there's a lot of people doing quick about faces, a quick 180s if they piss off the Bitcoin crowd, because it's not only just a virulent group that's very passionate about it, but they've also got the capital behind them. And I bet you that some donors knocked on his door when he came out. I bet you that was where the pressure came from. With regards to his initial statements, I'm not sure that he was necessarily lying or maybe downplaying or even misspoke. It was I saw Joe Consorti had a wonderful point about this as well, that he's a debt salesman. He's got to get people to buy treasuries. And so he's got to walk this line between keeping Bitcoiners and donors happy, getting some potentially into the strategic Bitcoin reserve, but still being like, look, I'm all about Bitcoin, but I want you to buy my debt. That's what I want you to buy.
Yeah. How do you simultaneously stack the soundest money on earth that is a clear replacement for the US dollar and US treasuries while getting people to use US dollars and buy US treasuries?
Yes.
Like, guys, we like Bitcoin, but like, have you seen my shitcoin?
That's exactly it. And even to further illustrate to Senator Lummis's point, one thing I'll disagree with is you absolutely could just buy Bitcoin. Screw the debt, the budget neutral thing. You want to save the US, that's probably the way you actually have to do it, but it ain't going to save necessarily the US dollar. And again, going back to this idea of revaluing the gold, I saw a wonderful theory kind of floated out there too, because we recently had the very brief window with the tariffs on the gold and trying to make sense of that. One idea that I was shown that did kind of, everything lined up for me was the idea of tariff on gold, short squeeze the gold, revalue by Bitcoin. Do I think that they're going to do that? Not necessarily. Do I think it would be a good idea for them? Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Again, and I see people chirping in the chat, and I agree. Like, Doug, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, do you actually trust this administration? And like, the answer is never trust any politician, right? Like they will say one thing and do the opposite if it suits them better at any point in time. And we've seen that time and time again. Should never be surprised by it. And furthermore, to kind of round out this topic here, it's if you are waiting on government decisions to inform whether or not you're going to obtain use and secure Bitcoin, you are doing it wrong. Don't go and wait. Just start learning right now, and make sure that you're not only getting Bitcoin, but getting it into your own self-custody. It is so, so important. If you want help with that, just scan the QR code. There's the Learn page that we have set up on the BTC Sessions website. And literally, it's just full of skills that you can learn from beginner stuff to intermediate to master. And you can just level up as a Bitcoiner, and none of this will matter. None of it will matter, because you will be safe in self-custody with your own Bitcoin. And beyond that, if you want to dive deeper, there's playlists for deeper dives on all of the topics there. So, level up. Don't wait. Don't wait for the government to tell you whether or not Bitcoin's valuable. We know it is. We know it's important. And we know that if you are self-sovereign, then you can just sit back and, the news is fun to listen to, but you don't need to be reliant on it.